See that amazing smile.
Welcome all. Welcome back for a special edition Memorial Day of SuperMex Nation, the voice of and the mind of Mexican America. And I hope you guys had, as I told you on Friday, make sure you go out, have a safe enjoyable weekend, because you can't make good, solid, constructive decisions. You can't look through the filter of what the American fabric is unless you're living a life. Don't just get tied up and listening to talk radio and news media all day, because there's a lot more going on out there. You want to make good decisions, you got to live a little bit. You got to go experience. You got to go hang out with people. You got to enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. But because it's Memorial Day today and it's a special, we're going to bring you right back to full circle and remind you of why we're here for Memorial Day and what those are. Okay, so that educational component will come in a little bit once we get into the meat of the show. But good news, and all entirely good, we have some guests with us tonight from a couple different businesses, and not just businesses, but I would say concepts. And we'll let them speak about that in a second, but it's a concept. And they're going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing. So educational, informative, and it's a business end too, because we are growing and we're going to have more sponsors, more advertisers to help people get their message out. And I will go on record, I've always said this. If there is something that I don't fundamentally believe in, I'll cut it entirely. I won't push something or advocate for something if I don't believe in it, if I think it's not good or business is not, best way to put it, good business practice. I will not support or advocate for that. I'd rather go poor than put my name on the line and do something just for a penny. I do not do that. Most of you guys know that. If not now, all of you do. I'd rather go poor than try to peddle for a penny. Yeah, that's a good line. So let's get to meat and potatoes. So our first guest tonight, I'll let them introduce themselves, but they're here from Bakersfield. So they made the trip from Bakersfield to Fresno, California on the good Memorial Day weekend, and they told me traffic wasn't too bad. So let's go ahead and let's go rounds. Let's introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Kyle Carter. This is my wife, Kim, and we're here from the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame.
Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. Okay, so who wants to go first? So give me a little bit of nuts and bolts, the history of it.
I'll let the smart, pretty one go first.
This guy's good. One. This guy's good.
But I'll take us back. I'm one of the Buckaroos of Buck Owens Buckaroos.
Oh, you were?
And yes, I still am. We still perform every month at the Crystal Palace. But by doing that, the concept came to my husband and I, Kyle, that there just was not a place to recognize other local artists in Bakersfield who have substantial careers.
Correct.
And so we decided that together we would open something that had a recognition center, but we really had no idea what it was we were going to do until Kyle ran for mayor in Bakersfield. And it just happened upon us that the building was for sale, and we purchased a building that was over 100 years old. It was an old trucking company with the intention of opening a new business, not the Hall of Fame. How it turned into the Hall of Fame, I don't remember.
Let's do the nuts and bolts before we get into that for a second. So nuts and bolts for SuperMex Nation in America. And if you guys didn't know, we have people throughout the country. East Coast, we have hardcore, diehard SuperMex fans everywhere from New York to Florida, Illinois, Michigan, etc. So musicians that they would know. Obviously, Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
It's country, primarily
Yes.
in Bakersfield. But who else other than Buck Owens? Let's walk back. What else would we know?
From
Who else?
Bakersfield, there would be Susan Ray, LA International Airport, Red Simpson, who wrote the truck driving songs.
Okay.
I have a lot of family here in Fresno, the Lujano family, and
wow.
and my uncles and cousins were truck drivers. So those songs are close to heart from that, and they've listened to country music for years and years, way before I ever started singing.
Wow, we did one show, and the music was, because on Fridays we do a Tag That Track, which is I play music, and my audience has to guess it. If they get it right, I give them a free shirt with the SuperMex image on it. We did a trucking top 10 trucking songs all time.
There you go.
So
Yeah,
I grew up on
Red Simpson.
Oh yeah.
But you know, not only country, we have Korn. Is a band that's from Bakersfield. It's done
KORN. I know Korn.
That's
it's
right.
done very well.
Are they still playing pretty hard
Don't
and heavy?
forget Merle Haggard, too, in the middle of all
Merle
of that,
Haggard.
because
Oh,
they
yeah,
are
Merle
two
Haggard.
biggest,
And
was
you know
Merle
what's
and
funny
Buck.
is Buck and Merle were both married to a gal named Bonnie Owens, and so
Same woman?
Same woman.
Same woman. They were.
Which one was first?
Different men.
Buck was first. She kept the name, and then she married Merle, and they toured the nation. And she was quite a hit maker herself.
So clearly into music as well.
Oh yes, very, and I think that's why she tagged on with Buck and Merle, because of the music. But there's also, back in the 1920s and 30s, there was Lawrence Tibbett. Lawrence Tibbett was the king.
I know that name.
The king.
New York
of the
Metropolitan,
New York Metropolitan Opera. A lot of the cartoons. You remember watching cartoons as a kid? Figaro, 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 Figaro. Remember that?
Figaro.
Very good, very good. That was Lawrence
That was
Tibbett.
Lawrence Tibbett. From Bakersfield, we have Gregory Porter, who is
Current.
right now.
Oh, now
Yes.
you're talking on some names there. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't
he's
even
a
realize
big
that.
jazz guy.
Okay.
We have
Mary Osborne.
Mary Osborne. She was a jazz guitarist. Amazing.
You guys
Played
got
with-
more of a, you guys
played
got
with
more.
everybody.
I think you guys got more of a music scene than we do, at least in diversity that way.
The history is so deep. We put
Because
out
people
a
do
list.
know, Bakersfield's kind of country, and people do know
Yeah,
that.
they-
Like, I mean, generally.
It's a huge music town, but we put out a list when we opened the Hall of Fame thinking, oh yeah, there's probably 10, 11 people. We put out saying, who should we induct in? There were 400 names came back of people that could be on our walls as inductees.
Wow.
And so it's
Wait a minute. You're
gigantic.
Kyle Carter? So does that mean like you're related to June Carter?
No.
No, I wish.
I had to do it. I
He
had
is
to do it.
related to Kurt Carter, though.
Yeah, I did have lunch with the Cash family a couple
Very
of times,
nice.
and that was a lot of
I had to do it. I'm a layman. I wouldn't know, right?
Kim's manager
You never know.
was one of the Cashes, the original Cashes.
Okay.
So when she was back singing.
So you've
and
basically
touring-
done a lifetime in music in Bakersfield.
Oh no, I'm a home builder. I built houses and
Okay.
things, and then I played guitar since I was a wee one, and I met Kim. We married and we started touring. I was her guitar player. She was
Oh,
gracious enough to let me play the guitar.
Oh,
and
wow.
I messed it up as much as I could, but she always covered my mess up.
Did you
with
at
her
least
beautiful
attempt to
voice.
serenade her once in a while?
No, he let me do the singing.
Yeah, she sings enough around the house for both of us. But there is a huge music history in Bakersfield.
Right.
It's very, very, very
Of all
deep.
musics, yeah.
Right, right. Okay, so let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay.
Then. In terms of, give us the full title of the building and the business.
It's the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame.
Bakersfield Music
there's
Hall of Fame.
Several aspects of it. One, we have a performing arts theater that seats almost 300 people. It was rated as one of the 50, or named as one of the 50 best theaters in all of California by
Goodseats.com.
Goodseats.com.
Okay, so
Yeah.
acoustic quality.
The acoustics
plus.
are amazing.
A+,
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go. We'll go
Yes.
sing together.
Hey,
I do country.
I welcome you.
And we've
The
had,
SuperMex loves country.
we've had a myriad of top quality people there come and play artists, and it's just a great place to come.
So
see
you
a
still
show.
have that component. You
Yes,
still
we
do concerts, smaller events.
We do a lot of concerts. We
Everything
do
from
weddings.
acoustic,
We
a
do.
songwriter series, to Tommy Emmanuel was there with the Guitar Masters. So there's several different
Very
types
nice.
of shows. Junior theater.
We're doing tribute shows now. We've had all the amazing major tributes. Tom Petty, Led Zeppelin, Queen Nation.
Bonfire with AC/DC.
We had AC/DC a couple weeks ago. We've got,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
wow.
got Prince coming up pretty quick.
This week.
The Smooth Sounds of Santana. So I could
So I'm going to
go
guess, so
on
you
and on
you
and
lock
on about
in, so it sounds like you got a full suite of shows coming through throughout
Through the year,
Right.
right. We try to
Right.
do it a
We
year
do
at a
lot of
time now.
shows. We also do weddings. We do
We rent the venue.
corporate parties. Well, the fun thing is Bakersfield's a huge oil town.
Correct.
It's our gross domestic product. in
Go
Kern-
drillers, go drillers.
Yeah, in Kern County is $40 billion a year. So there's a lot of people there with money, and they've hired us, our hall, to come in and they'll have us bring somebody in.
Yeah.
That's very famous, and they'll
Very
have a
nice.
personal party for them and their buddies.
Okay.
And so that's kind of fun too. We get a
So
lot
in
of
addition to
fun.
the music, let's get the other. So what other aspects do you have that you consider your business?
Well, we also have offices that we rent out. We have a radio station there. We have a
Well, and then you did say you can
Podcast station.
record.
We have
Yes, we have a
podcast, we have
recording
So you have
studio.
audio
studios.
component.
We have a live recording studio too.
We have one of
We're-
the nicest recording studios you ever find. We probably have one of the biggest recording studios you'll ever find. We can do marching bands in
Yeah.
there. We can do church choirs.
And so that's where you run your podcast out of?
No,
Inside the
podcast
building.
is another studio that we have.
Okay, so you do that too. What's the podcast you would go to or plug that?
It's Comcast.com, I believe. It's not ours. It's
We
the company that
lease
rents.
it out,
Yeah, they
Okay,
lease
so
from
you
us.
lease from them.
Same with Cary Christian Radio is
And when
is
does that
in the
go off
building.
though? I mean, when do you guys do it?
When do they do it?
Well,
Daily.
you guys, daily?
Yeah,
They-
they have
they-
daily people in there.
they stream daily,
Just
right.
Like you. You're the
Oh,
same
wow.
as what you're
Okay.
doing here.
All right, very nice.
And they do a great job. It's very professionally done. We have a radio station. We have had a modeling studio in there till a couple months ago. They moved out. We're just growing so fast. We needed the office space to grow.
But clearly at a point, you guys are at, I would say, kind of at your base, and you're ready to get bigger and expand.
That's exactly what we're doing right now. Matter of fact, we're in a remodel right now, and during the summer months we'll be in a little bit more, and we're also going to add an outdoor feature coming up too, because we rent the venue out for private parties.
Right. Yeah, outdoor there's a wedding venue in Hawaii. It's like the #1 wedding venue, or one of the #1s in the world, and so we have a spot on the side of our building. I thought we could copy this. We can bring Hawaii.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's what we were talking about just on air. Like, be aggressive, go forward, do things. You know, that's kind of my mantra, is like, don't just sit there with the bat on the shoulder. I'd rather swing and swing hard and miss than not swing at all. Right. It sounds like exactly what you guys are doing.
Right. Well, the goal is to recognize the talent from Bakersfield that's come out of Bakersfield or has influenced the Bakersfield-Kern County area. So, like you said, you'd rather not make a penny sometimes. I promise that's not what we're doing. We are trying very hard to accomplish that one goal through all of the revenue that does come in.
I think I know exactly what you're saying, because in essence, that's what you and I were talking about right prior to coming on air, is that, I do believe if you do it right, if you build it, they'll come, right? But if you do it right, ultimately you'll be fine. My line is, I don't pedal for a penny. In other words, I will not compromise my principles and what I believe, and it sounds like what you guys believe in is music in Bakersfield needs to be drawn a focus to, and you're going to do that through constructing a business and business aspects that help you deliver that product.
Exactly.
It's also
after us.
Creating a pathway for more people to have more music coming out of Bakersfield again.
Correct.
Right.
If you create a
to
pathway,
nurture it and keep it growing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Kim does junior theater a couple of times a year, and we've had some kids come out of there and go right out and start doing commercials and doing TV and doing other things, and they learn how to sing. She's giving singing lessons to people now, and if you create a path, they'll come.
Right. You're absolutely correct. So if you build it, they will come. Yeah. So let's leave it there. That's our quick spot with the lady and the gentleman, Kyle Carter.
Kim Carter. Yes.
Kim I'm sorry, I was going to say Kimberly, but Kim's okay.
Kimberly's good too.
Okay, Kyle and Kim Carter, and they are with the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame in Bakersfield, California. So you guys have a website.
We do, www.bakersfieldmusichallofame.com.
Simple
or
enough.
you can dial 661-864-1701.
So he's done a commercial before.
Yeah,
Entertainment. But SuperMex Nation, you guys go out there, show some love to these good people doing good work. You guys know my rule. I don't do anything without principle and purpose. So they are doing good work. They're fostering music in their community. And by the way, it's not like their community ever lacked for music. Sounds like need a little bit of a renaissance and a resurgence, and they're going to help that grow. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having
us. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a great and safe trip on the way home.
And thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what? I didn't do that. I did not do that.
On this
Jesus.
day, thank you for your service.
I appreciate that, but like most of us say, I appreciate the thank yous, but it's about thanking the ones that have fallen today in particular.
Absolutely.
Today in particular, it's about the soldiers that have fallen, not any of us that were fortunate enough to serve during wartime, but we're still here. So thank you guys. We'll be back in a second with our next guest. Welcome back, everyone. Look at that commercial. Ooh, moving up in the world. We got a good commercial, right? But that was Kim and Kyle Carter, again, with the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. I'm asking you guys, you know how this works. If I ask you, it's for a good reason. They're doing good work in Bakersfield. They're fostering art, they're fostering a community, and they're conducting themselves in a professional fashion. I do not support and will not support any person or people, businesses, etc., that are not good for people. Exactly. Yeah, it's easy to just take people's money, but it's a hell of a lot harder to do what's right and foster these people so they can grow, and by extension, more good people are doing business and taking care of their customer. That is extremely important to me. I don't support people that you're not willing to do that, even if it means I go broke, because you know what I'll do? I'll get on air anyway, even if I make no money out of it. It's not about making money, it's about principle. Remember that. So we got our next guest with us. A young gentleman from our area this time, and he's going to talk a little bit about his business. And then this time I'm not going to forget, we're going to talk a little bit about Memorial Day before we walk off with this particular interview with this young gentleman in Fresno, California. So let's go ahead and go. So again, give me your name again, sir.
James.
James Hoke, H-O-A-K. Got it.
That's right.
So business is?
My business is Quality Home Painting Incorporated, QHP Inc. I shortened it up because it was a little bit of a mouthful. Been servicing the Central Valley, mountain and foothill areas for 35 years, doing custom homes.
Hold on a minute. 35 years?
Yeah,
You?
my pops and I are in business together.
I was about to say, you ain't no 35,
yeah,
man.
the company's been around for 35 years,
Good to go.
and I'm basically managing and running it now.
So
And
you picking up after Pops?
yeah, my pops is fading out a little bit. He still does the estimating and some of the office work with our secretary.
So quite literally your mom and pop shop,
Yeah.
small business.
Yeah.
And you've been in business for 30-something years, 35 years.
I went to school at Fresno State and wanted to get my business degree so I could do this and run my own company, the American Dream.
So how's it going so far? I mean, how long have you been in charge?
I graduated college in 2011 at Fresno State, so what's that, going on my 8th year of running things. I started when I was in high school. I worked every summer, painting, scraping. Did a lot more scraping paint back then.
You mean real work?
Yeah. But yeah, I've been doing it for 8 years and things have gone great. I mean, when I graduated in 2011, we were in a bad economy. Jobs were hard to come by.
Yep.
I mean, we weren't even very busy and we had to kind of regroup and maybe pull a few benefits back from employees.
So I'm going to guess that the housing market recovery has helped?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, since then we've had our best years ever, and that keeps happening. I keep.
So
topping.
you're primarily Fresno.
Yeah, I do Fresno. I mean, I go all up and down California. I did a custom home in Napa
Where the
a
business
couple
takes
years
you, right?
ago. Yeah, if there's work, I'm going. I'd rather go to work than lay guys off.
I get that. So I mean, is it primarily residential homes?
Yeah, I do custom residential homes mostly.
So nothing outside of, so you focus on homes?
Yeah, focus on homes. I've done a few commercial buildings. Like I said, we'll go do wherever it is if we don't have work. But I do high-end custom homes, you know, anywhere from 6,000 to 15,000 square foot.
Right.
I've done some work for Paul Everett and a few other people in the valley that were really big projects.
So you have a crew, I think you said, right?
Yeah, right now I currently have 5 guys.
Let's do the business end. How many do you employ? I mean, in your crew?
I have 5 guys right now. I'm constantly hiring and looking for guys. I could probably be running 10 to 12 right now. But yeah,
so
right
the work's
now,
there. Work's there.
Yeah, I have 30 plus jobs already lined up, and I need employees more than work right now because I have a lot of work. But the more guys I hire, it allows me to get more done, and I can do more management stuff instead of being on site all the time.
Correct. And then go get more business.
Right. Bring in more work and get more done. And I have a lot of contractors that they count on me because they call and say, hey, I need this done by this deadline, and they know I'm their guy.
Can you handle it, et cetera?
Right. Can you push it? If you got to work overtime, do what you got to do to hit the mark. And
well, that sounds good. So, I mean, you've got the work. You're going to probably need more workers if you want to continue, right?
Right.
I won't say for sure, but I mean, to see how many, I got a lot of young guys that I've either coached, taught, mentored, et cetera. Who knows? Maybe they're out there. If you guys are listening, so let's help out the gentleman here busting his butt doing the good work, building a business. And you know, if you guys need work, there's work for you. Can't say there isn't work, right?
No.
There's work for somebody.
There's a lot of work out there.
Right.
If you want it, you go get it.
That's matter of fact, we were just talking about with Kyle right before you guys. Like, I tell people I'm intellectually aggressive. What does that mean? Doesn't mean you're just like an egghead and you're like, right? It means that you're constantly moving forward. You're constantly trying to grow, build.
Right.
You're not the guy sitting with the bat on the shoulder looking at the called, third strike.
Right.
I
You're
like
never complacent, There's always
Exactly.
something else, another move to make, and that's what I'm doing.
I'd rather swing and not hit than not swing at all. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. Especially, so if your business has been in place 35 years, the good end, that's stability.
Yeah.
Name recognition, name
We have a
quality.
good clientele.
And then you're a younger version of your pop, I'm going to guess, and you're aggressive and you want to grow and expand. I mean, to me, that's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I tell people. Intellectually aggressive, that's the American way, where it's not enough to just sit on what you were given,
right?
But to grow, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you're not going to want to be that guy. Like, yeah, my dad gave me this, I'm going to chill.
Yeah. And I've gotten that my whole life, too. Everybody always says that. So you got that chip on your shoulder that says, hey,
you got something to prove.
I want to come in here and build my piece of this. And, we were probably under $200,000 a year company, a real small mom and pop shop. That wasn't even our income, just total work we did. Mm-hmm. And when I got out of college, I said, hey, I want to do $500,000. And my dad looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, let's go for it. We did some apartment complexes down here. We worked with the Cesar Chavez Foundation. Mm-hmm. And we did custom homes as well. And we hit that mark. And then the next year I hit 600. And I mean, we didn't even think it was possible. And I just went out and worked hard. And I got a good team around me. And, made it possible. And it became a reality. So now I need another goal to hit. And, I love what I do.
Well, it sounds like you have what you need in front of you.
Good foundation.
Like in terms of, you've got a good foundation and you just want to grow that thing and get bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say it again. Okay, so I'm not just a normal, I'm a talk guy, right? I'm a regular guy. I talk to people and I get the most out of what we can get. So, and I think you heard me that first little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe in advocating, supporting, or doing anything for anybody who isn't doing it right. If you guys been in business 35 years, I'm going to guess, you're a mom and pop shop. You have to do it right or you won't survive.
Oh, yeah. And that's what drives me nuts about some of the things you see on TV, like the high-speed rail.
No comment.
They're managing that like a fiasco. If I ran my company like that, I wouldn't have a company.
So I'm going to digress.
I wouldn't have one.
I'm going to digress again. So we do talk, for the show. And I was telling Kim about that a little earlier. I mean, we're not, specifically or explicitly a political talk show.
Right.
What I was explaining to Kim just right before you was that our show is socio-cultural, political, because politicians are a reflection, whether we like it or not, of our society. It is who we are.
Yeah,
we
true.
elect them, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, they're our officials.
I'm an old military guy. I'm a hard-headed
for us.
I'm a hard-headed nut. I don't sit there and cry about what they are or what they're not. I call out things that are right and wrong, regardless of party or who you are. But I always bring it back to us. It's on us if we don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
My point to what you're doing is like you're a smaller business. You don't have option to do it the wrong way, I'm going to guess.
Right.
The larger groups or high-speed rail or whatever, anything that becomes that big and Byzantine and massive and convoluted, that's when you begin to see like graft and corruption and inefficiencies. I'll say inefficiency. You'll understand that immediately, right? Like, wait a minute, I'm not wasting that penny, man. That's gonna hurt me somewhere, right?
I mean, in my world, it comes down to using every little bit of material instead of throwing it away.
Correct.
Inches can be feet or more in the long run when it comes to prepping.
Bigger places that have massive amounts of money coming in, they can, and this is going to sound ugly, they can afford to be wasteful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm going to tell you, as an American, that drives me up the damn wall.
And we see it every day.
It aggravates me to no end. And quite literally, that's kind of why we do this show and for other reasons. But we try to draw out the best parts of who we are and point out the bad parts, but not like in an evil way. Point them out so we can correct them.
Right.
I mean, because there are a lot of bad things in this world. But if we just ignore them or bury our head, they don't get corrected.
Oh, and I like that group mentality because 10 brains think differently. When you can bounce ideas off of people, even if you don't all agree, but you can bounce ideas and you feel comfortable doing that, that's how you make solutions.
Yeah, so you may not know, but I'm a former history teacher, former U.S. history teacher. You just summed up in layman's terms the reason why we have a constitution. Because people got together. They were all over the place. A bunch of dudes, right? They sat down and I don't like that. I'm a business guy from up here. I'm a lawyer from over there. I'm a farmer, tobacco farmer from over there. But they all got together. They removed the waste and inefficiency and the problems that they saw coming forward. And they got together and they got to common ground.
Yep.
That's what it is. So I'm digressing a little bit, but I want to plug that mentality.
Yeah,
That, like I'm looking you right in the eye, and I can tell that's what you have to be.
And
if you're not,
relating to my company, I got to pick and choose my guys to build my foundation.
Right.
And there's no way I could ever get off a job site to do more if I didn't have a solid group of guys to cover me.
So I'm going to make sure I'm clear on that. So do things the right way. It's not just about a penny. And you'll probably sustain and last longer. That's why we have the Constitution still, right? But I think that's so. You've been in business 35 years, quality home painting.
We take a lot of pride in our craftsmanship and quality, and I think we're one of the few left that still take a lot of pride in their craftsmanship.
I believe you. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, I've been kind of in and around business, not a business guy, but I see far more waste and inefficiency, and not as much pride in craft, not as much pride in skill, and not as much pride in their word, or looking someone in the eye and knowing who they are. I think you get my point, right? You feel that? I think you do. All right, so Quality Home Painting here in Fresno. They do residential, and it sounds like they could have the ability to do even more commercial. They do need more people to help them with growing the business, it sounds like, in terms of just regular workers for a crew. Plenty of jobs, ladies and gentlemen. Jobs are out there for you. So any last thing you'd like to say out there to SuperMex Nation?
Yeah, thank you for your time and everything you guys do here for the community.
This your daughter over here?
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. Come on. Say hi. She's a commercial by herself.
This is Mia.
She's a commercial by herself. Look at this young lady. Come on. Come on now, SuperMex Nation.
Yep.
That's a commercial by itself. You should do USA and then Quality Home Painting.
The next generation right here.
Are you going to do what he's doing?
No.
Okay, that's our show for Quality Home Painting. Thank you guys for being here. We'll get back to our meat of a show just in a handful of minutes, but I want you guys, again, do you have a website or anything like that?
I have a Facebook page, Quality Home Painting Inc.
Simple enough. Quality Home Painting Inc. at Facebook. Why don't you guys do that at the very least? Hit that page up, like it, and get a look at it. And maybe somewhere in this area, we do have a lot of Fresno people, obviously, that watch the show. Quality Home Painting. Let's help this young buck build that business into a monster. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, young lady.
Thank you.
Watch you laugh and see that amazing smile.
Welcome back. I appreciate you guys being here. So remember, we are on during and live Memorial Day at 3 p.m. today, and it's supposed to be 3 p.m. at each of the different time zones throughout the country. You should have, and that's my fault for maybe not posting it on the page, but at 3 p.m. you're supposed to reflect for a moment of silence on those that have been lost. So let me give you the nuts and bolts of Memorial Day. So Memorial Day, in addition to Armed Forces Day and Veterans Day, are the three primary days that you have that have to do with service or servicemen of some kind. So Memorial Day specifically has to do with honoring those that have fallen, that have actually fallen and given their lives in service to their country. So let me make sure we're clear there. So the images you've been seeing have to do, you've seen some gravestones, you've seen some flags on graves at cemeteries, for instance, Arlington National. Today I watched Vice President Pence give a piece during the time of, during and in front of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I thought that was really cool. Gets this old soldier a lump in his throat. And, in these times, and for those of you guys on the page, you know what I did today. I asked early on this morning that there be no argument, debate, or contentious issues. And I think the second part to that line was, because on this day we will honor those that give us the right to argue, debate, or contend an issue. That's what this day should be about. Putting aside all the other, and I'll say it, garbage and stuff that goes on in a news and political cycle, and reflecting on the people that gave us the ability, the right, and the freedom, quite literally, to debate, contend, and argue, right? So that's what I asked for today, and so it didn't. We started off in the morning. It was like, maybe some people didn't see it. Then I had to post back in, and I said clearly, please, no, lay off the contentious issues, lay off the debating and arguing. Not because we shouldn't be doing that, because obviously that'll continue, and we'll continue into tomorrow and every day after. But we have to have the ability as a country to find common ground. And the most common ground, one of the easiest common grounds there is recognizing that we have these great freedoms and live in this great country quite simply because others have died for that right for us to be able to do so. That's Memorial Day. So let me break it down a little further. I'm going to get into my teacher mode for you. So that's Memorial Day. Last week was Armed Forces Day. That day is specifically for everyone that is currently in a service of some kind. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, etc. Basically, if you lace them up, you suit up the uniform, then Armed Forces Day is the day that you're recognized. So for instance, and the young gentleman just said right now, thank you for your service. Obviously, I respect that and appreciate it. It's not that I dismiss it out of hand at all, but more specifically, today is not about those of us that have served, but those of us that have served and fallen. Okay, I was fortunate enough to have served during wartime and to still be with you today and not have had to have given that sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, quite literally, of giving yourself for your country. I do like the revolutionary line. I regret that I but have one life to give for my country. I literally mean that. That chokes me up, gives me the lump in the throat, and I'll remind you that yes, I absolutely believe that. I regret that I but have one life to give for my country. So Armed Forces Day is for all those that are currently in service and serving now. That is Armed Forces Day. Memorial Day, we just explained. And then there's Veterans Day. Veterans Day is more specifically for all those people that have served and are no longer in. So you see the distinction between the two. Armed Forces Day is for those that are currently in. Veterans Day is for those that have served and are no longer in uniform or in service. And today, in particular, in my opinion, we'll do the IMHO thing. In my humble opinion, this one is the most meaningful to me, and I would extend out to you. It should be the most meaningful to every American as well, because it is the day of the three where people died for this holiday that we have in what is normally the traditional beginning of summer, and people going off from school and enjoying their time over the summer. Days are a little different now, but that's the intent of it. So let me make sure we're clear on that. So 3 holidays primarily for people that have served or are serving. Veterans Day is for those that have served. That's on the 11th of November, back then. Going back to last year, it'll come up again. But for those that have served and that are no longer in service, Armed Forces Day was last week, and that is for servicemen that are currently in and that are not done yet. And today, again, in my humble opinion, the most meaningful of the three is for those servicemen and women that have actually given the full measure, that have given their life for the principles and freedoms, etc., that we are fortunate enough to be blessed with as a country. So I hope that's the breakdown for you. I want to make sure that we're clear so that on SuperMex Nation, you guys know the difference. You know the distinguisher between the three different holidays that I find very important. Today is definitely not about me having served. It's about those that have fallen. Fortunately enough, I do not have anybody in my family, immediate or extended, that lost their life in service to country. Fortunate, lucky. We've served for quite a few years in my family, going back generations and decades, back to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, right up to now, and everything in between. And fortunate enough, the Martinez and Ortiz family, we don't have any that have lost their lives, and that's just lucky and fortunate. And maybe we've got purpose from the big man upstairs. But so it does mean something to me though, because I'm a former U.S. history teacher. And it is about those that have given and willing to sacrifice for our principles. So tonight's show, before we run off, other than breaking down for you so that you walk away on SuperMex Nation knowing the difference between those three holidays. One of them is not actually a full holiday. Armed Forces Day, I don't think it's not off or anything. Veterans Day and Memorial Day is. But of those three, I want you to make sure you know the difference. So if you're not clear, you heard it here, educated on the differences between the 3 days that are for servicemen, servicewomen, past, present, and future. So I hope we're good there. So what I wanted to do today was take a little bit of time, and we're not going to do a full measure. We're going to go about another 20 minutes here, about a half hour total for the show. But we're going to talk a little bit about what I feel and what I believe, and after having talked to some other servicemen this weekend, over the weekend, while my family was enjoying a good little mini vacation, I kind of stayed home and got square with myself as to what it means and the intent of what I want to do with this show with the cool flag hanging over my shoulder. If you notice, I am doing a red, white, and blue thing. See that? Red, blue, white shirt, blue coat. Red, white, and blue, all American. So I got square with myself, and I did a lot of reading and research. I told you before we went off on the weekend that I'm rereading the Federalist Papers by John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. It brings you right back to the purpose and the intent of what this country was at the beginning. And I'm going to say here tonight on Memorial Day, on this evening, that is becoming more crystal clear to me. I think I'm finding that as I've navigated this road over the last couple of months in this different format here at KP1 Mad Production Studios, stability and safety and security, being able to go to a place that I know I'm going to be able to do my thing without any headaches and any compromises. I'm looking at this time, and I commented in the forum on SuperMex Nation in the group, that I'm beginning to wonder if maybe the intent here, if something is not done, this is what soldiers do. If you see something not done, we rush in to address. I do know that there are a lot of people on air, on mics, Facebook Live, YouTube, talking about everything under the sun. I don't want to just be another. I want to have purpose. I want to have principle. So I think going forward, I'm going to begin to compartmentalize for myself. If you've noticed, I have a lot of different types of topical shows. That's all intent. That's all intent on my part. And it's all with the purpose. The purpose is to feel my way forward as to how I want this show and this network to progress and what I want it to do. What I want it to do is address the American issues. Apropos, yes, on Memorial Day, I wanted to address some of the key and fundamental issues of America and who we are, what we are, and where we go forward. So, with that in mind, what it's going to end up being is I am going to end up talking more about the Constitution. I'm going to talk more about principles upon which this country was founded. and I'm going to talk more about the rule of law. You hear a lot of that lately. We have to quite literally be mindful and purposeful as to what we are, who we are, and what it means going forward. I see people talk and say things about, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's something you do not like, address the Constitution. How do you do that? You can't run back in time in your DeLorean 240 plus years and get in on that action. That's not happening. But what you can do is you can talk to your elected representatives, or you can run yourself and become an elected representative if you deem or you see that they are not adequate in advocating for the rule of law and the principles of our Constitution. If they're not doing that, don't sit idly by complaining, crying, and moaning about it. Do something about it. Either do it yourself, or through your actions and your verbiage and your wording and your pressure, force those that do represent you to take care of those items and those issues. Otherwise, all we're hearing on the air or everywhere across America is a lot of noise. And the noise is drowning out a lot of right-minded people that are actually trying to do these things right. I'm going to bring up specifically this weekend. I told you guys I watch a lot of different news channels. I don't do it all. This time I did a lot over the weekend, but I don't do it every day, all the time. I don't believe that's good for you or healthy. Go live, right? I keep saying that. Go live. That's how you make good decisions. But I watched a few this weekend. Somebody buzzed me and told me there's something good going on right now. So I popped over, got on to MSNBC. Casey Hunt, she's a Washington correspondent, and she does a show on Sundays that is called KCDC, and it was 4 to 5 and 5 to 6, I believe, yesterday. Now, why am I bringing this up? All the other stuff is kind of part and parcel of what you see in news media throughout the day. But in particular, she interviewed three current members, current veterans of Congress. One Republican, two Democrats. One Republican, two Democrats. I think it was Christy Houlihan, female lady, Seth Moulton, candidate on the Democratic side for president, and Dan Crenshaw, former Navy SEAL, Republican. And each one of those three, I found quality in terms of their discussion and the questions that they were asked. Those 2 hours, I think it took place over 2 hours. They were, again, interspersed within the other news items that she had to get out throughout the day. But I was really, really thankful that she interviewed the three of them. They each have their own political views. Again, they're Republican and Democrat. But as I sat there, and I've told you guys out in SuperMex Nation, don't sit here and tell me that all Democrats are evil. Don't sit here and tell me that all Republicans are evil. I'll tell you you're wrong. And you may not like that, but it's the truth. Because there are good people in either house, in either party. You have to go look for them. You have to be intellectually honest with yourself and not intellectually lazy, so much so that you refuse to listen to anybody because they're not your political party. Quite literally, you know what I'm going to say, that is not country first. That is party first. And I think you know where we stand here. This is country first. I don't throw up the damn flag behind me because I don't believe in it. I absolutely believe in it. And that's why I'm telling you now. And maybe that's why we lose some once in a while, then we add a few more. We have our number, we have our growth, and it's coming. Slowly, methodically, steady. But not because you believe me as I pander to you. Dan Crenshaw, Seth Moulton, and Christy Houlihan, I believe her name was. I was struck by their directness. I was struck by the fact that they look you in the eye and they tell you what they believe. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but it's always coming from a place that's honest. They're not pandering for political points within their party. I will say it because I'm paying a lot of attention to one of them, in particular because he's running for president, Moulton. Moulton just tells you flat out what he believes and what he doesn't. You may not agree with him, but he doesn't lie. He tells you. He's not exactly on Nancy Pelosi's list of highly valued members of the caucus. He tried to take her out, actually. For those of you guys that remember, Moulton actually tried to take Pelosi out. He believed in a different form of leadership, and he believed that we needed to be a little more country first, not as partisan. And his rationale is, if we're calculating based on what's good for the party first, then we're not calculating best on what's good for the country first. I'm all for that. Crenshaw brought up some good points. I'm not going to lay them all out for Christy Houlihan brought up some good points. She is a member of a brand new committee or caucus, I believe, that they've just formed. Female combat veterans, combat veterans. There's a total of 4. They went from 2 to 4. She's all happy, and that's kind of cool. But it's a new caucus in a new day. And quite literally for today, Memorial Day in particular, I'm talking to you because I'm really getting tired of watching this country rip itself apart based on partisan lines, being guided and directed by people in parties that are quite literally designed to move you to one end or another. That is the nature of what this is. The party system is structured to move you away from the other party, even when that movement moves you away from what's best for country first. That's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't see that, I'm bringing and shining a quite literally blinding white dwarf sun right on it right now. If you can't do that, then you will be led down a poor road. And it'll be a road based on hate, anger, frustration, and a lot of negative energy that doesn't go to a good place. Can't quite literally possibly go to a good place. All right? So what I'm telling you is be mindful of, on Memorial Day, you guys love servicemen, you love people that have served, you love people that have fallen, in today's case. But if you really love service, and you really love servicemen and women, and if you really believe in the fundamental principles upon which those people believe and operate, including this one, then don't be guided or misguided by others telling you not to listen to someone or believe in someone else simply because they have a small initial for another word in front of their name. I'm telling you point blank, there are good things going on in the Congress right now, regardless of what others say. Really good things. Bipartisan bills, some of them authored by, in particular, bipartisan fashion, with vets. Veterans getting together with other veterans in the Congress, Republican and Democrat, sitting together and coming up with good issue, good value. There's one in particular that I saw today. There's a bipartisan effort right now to address, after the tax cuts. This isn't political. I'm not taking a shot. I'm just pointing it out because it did hurt some. The tax cuts actually hurt Gold Star families, meaning people that have lost loved ones in service. This is not a joke. It's the truth. I researched it. The particulars are the tax cuts and the benefits because of them have actually hurt Gold Star families. So in a bipartisan fashion, veterans in the Congress, Republicans and Democrats, have gotten together and they're going to close that loophole and address that. So Gold Star families, people that have lost servicemen in service to their country, Memorial Day, remember Memorial Day, they're getting together and they're going to solve that problem, that issue. If there's one thing that I do know, going back to my 2 grandfathers, they were in World War II, Grandpa D and Grandpa Ernie, Demetrio Ortiz and Ernesto Martinez, 2 vets of World War II on either side of my families, my mom and my dad's. The one thing in particular, with many years in my grandfather's knee, my Grandpa Ernie in particular, really hammered into me, Mijo, it's about respecting those that gave their lives on this day. And the best thing you can do as an American is go forward respecting why they served. They served for the principles of this country. So that's how you respect this day. Not a cheesy thank you, whatever. Some of you actually mean it, some of you don't. But if you really want to respect the lives lost, the lives given on this particular day, get square with your Constitution, get square with this country, get square with placing your party second or third or fourth or fifth behind the principles and the values of your country. Start talking to each other. Start getting together. Start appreciating what the hell you do have and not all the things you don't. Because frequently now, in today's toxic political environment, as stipulated on my page, it is more about all the things that separate and divide us as opposed to those commonalities that bring us together. Not even the case. So we're going to finish up here in a second. I got my homeboy coming up with me. Brother Crow's here on Memorial Day, and we're going to finish up this last segment. See how that goes? I had 2 guests and a Brother Crow at the end. That sounds funny, huh? And we're going to finish up our Memorial Day special. But at the very least, you do know the differences and the distinguishers between the three holidays. You do know what they are. There's your education for the day. And we're back. He saw your hand before he saw the hand. Saw the hand before we saw the individual. So it is Memorial Day. You heard my last little piece there.
Yeah, hey, happy Memorial Day, everybody. I agree. Constitution first, and really only in many cases. You know,
And I'm going to say it because that's quite literally why people die. It is for, and I'm going to get, I don't get choked up here. I get a lump in my throat, right? You serve and you die if necessary. If you have to give that life, I regret that I have but one.
Right.
You serve and you die
Famous
if necessary,
saying, folks.
And you do that because of the principles and the values entrenched and enmeshed and ensconced in within the context of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And I think at this point, and I was saying this right before, when you're still out there, but I think going forward, I'm probably going to end up doing more that has to do with getting back to our core principles, because I don't know about you, but I don't see it. I don't see it out there in measure.
It's yeah. You know what? I
don't see others doing it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
There's a lot of, you call it extra constitutionality happening, and it's getting more and more. And the more that the government expands, and it doesn't matter whether the right's expanding government or the left, because they both are expanding government.
Right now, it's everybody.
Right, and what's happening is, we used to have like a situation where we discussed, is this program going to be legit under the Constitution or not? And if we didn't agree, it would go to the courts. If the courts said yes, then the chips fell where they may.
Right.
And most people just moved on with their lives, right? Now it's become really a situation where there's, the gobble up here, gobble up there, and the trampling of rights is happening now across the board, and then the whole stepping outside
and at a
of
faster
the bounds.
pace, I think.
Yes, it's accelerating. It's high-speed internet compared to dial-up internet. And
Actually, a good point. Yeah.
And I see a lot of it, and I see even my friends that had been advocates of trimming government and keeping it within a bounds where we control it, not the other way around. Our Constitution being the sort of the markers where we stay within. Right. A lot of them are turning into, well, if this side's going to grab it, then I'm going to grab it. And it's because it's a chess game, or even let's say whack-a-mole game, of hitting,
I would add that you say it's a chess game. On a philosophical level, to me, it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of blame to go around.
Let me hold you there, because you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. You like that, huh?
No.
You like that?
You hear that, folks?
You're absolutely right. And here's why. You're right, because I think we've gotten to that point in this country where, okay, I'll do the right thing, but if I do the right thing, that guy's going to do the wrong thing, and I'm going to lose. Is that the breakdown? That's it.
Sure, yeah. Or he's doing the wrong thing, so I'm going to find something else that's wrong too, and then say, since you're wrong, I've now validated my point.
And in essence, what happens is the philosophy is two wrongs make a right. Right. And out in the country, out in the world, out with the rest of us, right? Those two wrongs may appear to be right because so and so wins, or this person's in office now, or that person's getting something, but the country's losing.
Yeah, and
my country's losing.
And whenever government takes power in general, it's almost never gets taken back.
No.
For when
it continues to expand.
Right. It's a blob, and it does that. And I think about, I have a great uncle who fought in the Second World War. Patton was his general, solid guy. He made it through. He went through D-Day. He went through the whole thing. Battle of the Bulge. They were there. They had to march into there. He didn't tell me a lot about the war till I hit a certain age. Then he, would say, "Hey, I know you like watching World War II stuff on TV and all that." So,
you grew up as a little boy, right?
Yeah. He'd be like, one of the first things he said was, "By the way, you see those documentaries? Those things are nothing." He's like, "Those are a sanitized version of what really happened." And he's like, "Don't think for a second that the war is a game, or that war is just something. Hey, watch on TV." And he's all.
You know what war is? I'm gonna piggyback there. You know what war is now to a lot of people? It's that thing you watch on TV sometimes.
Oh yes, and
then you get these images of kids and that have died or lost. And we didn't do that today. I apologize, but let me stop there. I need to do this because 6,800 plus that have died in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001.
9/11, yeah, since the
Okay.
9/11, yes.
And then I apologize, and I think maybe what I'll do is I'll go home tonight and I'll post it on the page to finish the evening for those of you guys in my forum. But posting all those that have given their life or lost their lives this year for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And so what it's become is, and I think I watched, I won't say way too much because I actually learned some things this weekend. I watched a lot. My family was out of town, and I watched a lot of cable news and other this weekend. A lot. And no regrets because I watched 3 or 4 different networks. And I took a little slice of a lot of different ones. Right before when you were out, I mentioned that on MSNBC, Casey Hunt, he's a Washington correspondent. Some of you guys don't listen to that, but I listen to all of them. She, in my opinion, had the best guests on for the weekend. She had Dan Crenshaw, Republican in Congress.
Okay.
She had Seth Moulton running for president in Congress. And I reminded people that, like, wow, Moulton, he's a Democrat. Moulton's the one that tried to take Pelosi out, because he doesn't like the partisan stuff. He's trying to get to his version of what the country should be doing, right?
Yeah.
And he's a combat vet. He did 4 tours in
They need it in San Francisco these days with how crazy things are getting.
So Moulton, and by the way, he's a Harvard grad as well, and a combat vet. Not a lot of those running around. Well, there's one coming.
Yeah.
One of them's coming pretty soon, 2 years anyway. Then there was a young gal, Houlihan. I think it's Houlihan. I apologize if I'm wrong on that, but she's a combat vet, and they formed their own caucus or committee of female combat vets. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
those 3 were interviewed by Casey Hunt over the weekend. And if you removed the R or the D from either of the 3 as they were talking, you may gather that maybe on some social issues, this one's maybe a little bit this way, maybe on another issue, they're a little... On military, they're all kind of like more this way.
Sure.
No question. That's obvious.
Where Tulsi Gabbard is, by the way, our friend Tulsi
Oh,
Gabbard.
yeah, definitely. I mean, by the way, I mentioned that Tulsi Gabbard is co-authoring, sponsoring some bills right now that are bipartisan based on veterans in the Congress, and Republican and Democrat, getting together and putting legislation forward. I really like this. The vets are getting together, and some simple stuff, things that we should all be on board with, all American, right? The vets are getting together, co-authoring these bills, and then they're taking it to the respective parties. And they're saying, come on, get on board. Because it's the right thing to do. You know what I like about that? It's forcing the hands of the parties to actually have to get online with something that is country first. So yeah, Tulsi Gabbard too.
I'd love to see with Memorial Day for us to look at with our combat vets. My great uncle was like, look, he said, I opposed to Vietnam because of what I saw in World War II and what the politics too of war.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, exactly. He was a great warrior, but he opposed the
I
next ones.
I served during the Persian Gulf, and I was not for the Iraq War.
There you go, exactly. And my grandfather on my mom's side.
We begin to see the other side.
Yeah, my grandfather on the other side was an engineer who designed the Norden bomb sight. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do.
But for the folks out there, that was the bombing system. It's a microscope sort of out of the B-17.
Big component to us winning the war.
Yeah, and he still said, look, I'm glad I'm a good engineer and I could design that. But he still regretted all of the German civilians and Japanese civilians
that died.
That were killed by the weaponry. So what it taught me, these 2 great men in my life when I was younger, is that you don't play around with these wars. Memorial Day, Veterans Day, you want to honor these, all these gentlemen and ladies that have been involved with it. But you also want to do your best to ensure that there's peace from here on out as best as you can. I oppose any furtherance of Iran. I believe that because of this, I'm with Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Democrat.
It'd be stupid.
Yeah.
And I've told you before.
I don't think it's a smart thing.
How often do you hear me use the word stupid?
Yeah,
I don't.
Almost never.
It's just because if it rises to that level with me, it's because it's that serious.
Yeah.
And somebody, again, so I was watching all these shows over the weekend, right? And, I got a lot of different, I want to make sure we're clear to, SuperMex Nation and people in general, anybody that watches this. Not all veterans and not all people in service are in agreement on everything.
Exactly.
Unless the Patuki hits the fan, then obviously we are. Okay, yeah. But I watched McRaven this weekend, former Spec Ops commander, literally the guy who coordinated, the Bin Laden action, and the Saddam Hussein action, and a whole bunch of others. And he was pointing out, so he was a little further right, at least on a continuum, right, he pointed out, and I kind of want to leave the show tonight with this thought, is that after watching this weekend and watching all these, by the way, I'm going to say that one more time before we're done here. There was Casey Hunt. She did 2 hours over the weekend. She interviewed, and there was other political stuff, but the 3 vets that she interviewed, that was really striking to me. And I mean, they're just good words and a good opportunity for an average American to not get caught up with the party stuff and to put their country first and listen to some vets who've all given, their lives to their country and who are actually in Congress now. So let me walk that back, because I'm trying to try to give this good message to you guys on Memorial Day. This is what those that have served and died probably want you. Now, I'm not one of them, so I can't know with 100% certainty, but I'm going to guess with some good understanding that what they really want to see out of you guys, what they really want you to acknowledge or respect, is each other and this country and the principles upon which it's founded. It's that simple. That's why you take an oath and you swear to defend the Constitution. That's why they give their lives. Okay, so that's what I'm telling you, that they're probably telling you to be mindful of, not just every once in a while, thank you for your service. Don't thank me for my service. Thank me by respecting our Constitution. Thank me by respecting each other.
Yes,
Thank
I
me
like that.
by talking to each other, working out differences and difficulties, and remembering that we are a nation of one. A lot of a multiplicity of ethnicities and all kinds of other things, but we are still a nation. All right, and we better start finding common ground about the things that divide us the most. Anybody that divides us at this point, I'm not with. It's quite simply that. So McCraven brought up some things. I watched those 3, and I'm going to say those 3 again because I really love what their talking points were. Dan Crenshaw in Congress, Seth Moulton in Congress and running for president now, and Christy Houlihan in Congress. And those 3, I guess here's my positive message to you guys. Wrapping up this evening. On a really good day and a really good evening. I really like short. It was a good, impactful show with some good things done, throughout it. But I want the message hard and heavy, before we're done. There are good people in Congress right now, and they're Republican and Democrat, both. It's up to you to go find them, and it's up to you to understand the qualities that they bring to the table. One thing that I do know, we have more vets in Congress than in a long, long time. We have more female vets in Congress than ever before. It is a good look at what I pointed out. My son is a millennial. And he is a combat vet, or at least he was in Iraq 2-3 years ago, while a lot of this action was still going on with the 82nd Airborne. Okay, so he's paid his dues, he's done his job, as his father has and others before him. My point is, though, that McCraven, that's where I was going with this. Admiral McCraven said he knows, and he is well aware because his father, obviously, and some others, served, and they were part of the greatest generation. I think we all agree, the World War II generation, the greatest generation in American history. But McCraven, and I love the optimism of this guy, former Navy SEAL, bona fide, and I'll say it on air, we're not going to censor anything, but bona fide badass. He's a bona fide badass. McCraven pointed out, and this is what I'm going to leave you guys with, and you can disagree or agree with me. I'm going to make you agree with me. I'm going to press you to agree with me.
You're pretty good at saying things in such a way that it's hard to disagree.
Notice how I never deliver you a fastball, right? I always give you a softball. Give you a softball, that way you can agree. But here's what McCraven pointed out, that he is extremely optimistic about this millennial generation, because this millennial generation, they are the generation that have done the dirty work and have lost 6,800 lives in service to this country in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not the World War II generation. It's not even ours, Gen X. We were first Persian Gulf. Okay, but once we get into 2000, range, yeah. Right, once we get into September 11th, 2001, it is now the millennial generation, ladies and gentlemen, that have picked up the torch, and they're carrying it pretty damn badass right now. They are doing the dirty work for 18 damn years.
Another reason, by the way, not to go to Iran. The first 2 aren't done yet.
I know. Exactly. We're not but continuous war, and that's another aspect of what I took this weekend, but I'm going to say it again. 18 plus years. And it's the millennial generation. So that's for all you baby boomers and Gen Xers out there that think this generation is not what we're hoping it is. I'm going to tell you to check that mess at your door. Yeah. Because my son and some of his others, and including my kids, the kids that I have coached, the kids that I've taught, the kids that are with me to this day. 173rd Airborne, Ranger Bat. I've got one in the Navy in Japan. I got them all over the country right now and all over the world. They're in the Army, they're in the Navy, they're in the Air Force, and they're in the Marine Corps. Those are mine. And they're in the millennial generation. They're the ones doing the dirty work for this country while we all kick back on these days and enjoy our holiday.
Don't listen to the media types that just put all of the crazy ones on camera. That's essentially what happened.
All
right?
the crazy ones.
The crazy ones attract attention.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, for every crazy one, there's 5 good ones. So
right. So that's and I'm gonna, I'll say it, with you, Brother Crow, is that I think after watching this weekend, even more so, I was already anyway, by the way. I'm optimistic about this generation. I refuse to label one brand new generation that hasn't even extended to the full of their value in terms of a life. I refuse to say in advance
you don't write them off.
that they are not that good or they won't be that good. That is garbage, because that is what was said about us. That was what was said about every generation.
We were the laziest generation.
That was what was said about every generation going back to the beginning.
Absolutely.
But I'm telling you, there are some damn good people, damn good young people right now. And I'm gonna cast a little bit, and I'm gonna jump into another reality and go hang out in an alternate universe with some of the people that have served our country and died. And I'm gonna guess in my conversation with them that they also are optimistic about this new generation, this millennial generation that has definitely the potential and the possibility, in McRaven's words, Admiral McRaven, a bona fide badass, an all-American patriot, a real patriot. His words, that this potentially could be our next greatest generation.
And speaking of the first greatest generation, I remember my grandfather saying that his dad and mom from the Roaring 20s generation were like, these kids are
It's perpetual.
Everybody says these kids are I can't believe they're doing this or that.
It's perpetual.
We have to remember we were all that situation ourselves at one point. It's called maturing.
So as we wrap up tonight, thank you guys all for being here. SuperMex doesn't take a day off for a holiday.
That's right.
We're still
that's
here.
Right, you guys.
We're still here, and we're doing a good show for you. And you at least learned the differences between the 3 holidays: Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and Armed Forces Day.
Yes,
Armed Forces Day.
That one gets left out.
Yeah, it is, because it's not an official holiday that we take a day off.
We need to
So
take care
you
of
at
that
least
official holiday.
you at least learn the differences in the 3. You know what they are now, and then act accordingly on your end. And also, if you learn something, you're going to get at least my subjective opinion. But not only do I think I'm right, but watch this, because this isn't a talk show; it's a do show. It's a do show. And it's about issue-oriented, fact-based, solution-driven. Here's the solution. Not only will I say that I think, like Admiral McRaven, that this current generation might be our next great generation, I'm going to do every damn thing I can to help them actualize that. Because that's what soldiers do. We sacrifice for the good of the mission. If it means that this millennial generation becomes the next great generation, then maybe going forward, ladies and gentlemen, on SuperMex Nation and the concept of the network and all of it, maybe that's where we go. Let's stop crying, complaining, moaning about all the bad things that we are right now. And let's start getting square with this generation, making them great, so we can get off into retirement chilling, knowing that the ship is in good hands. That's my message to you for tonight on a Memorial Day. SuperMex is out. I'll see you Wednesday. All right, look at this. I'm going to show you. I was going off. So watch this. KP, can you get a close-up on this?
Yeah.
Does it go closer?
There you go.
All right, for those of you guys, turn this way.
There
right,
you
can
go.
you see that?
There you go.
That is to last call, all my friends in the Brotherhood. You know who you are. It's the Brotherhood of the Cross Rifles. As I was coming over today, it's infantrymen. Brotherhood of the Cross Rifles, those that pick up a rifle and get into the trench. As I was coming over today, I was like, how do I respect my brothers in infantry? So watch this. I'm trying to get young. I went like this. Your weapons, right? I got weapons. Brotherhood of the Cross Rifles. There you go. That's a gang sign.
Yeah.
There's my gang sign. Everybody see that? That's my gang sign. Brotherhood of the Cross Rifles. Infantry. Hooah. That's who you are. Now I'm done. Brotherhood of the Cross Rifles. Nothing but love for you guys.
Wonder Twin
Have a good
Powers.
one. There you go.
All right.
Have a good night.
Enjoy.